Good. So welcome. Again, page 3. If you need the materials, let me know in chat. I'll put it in chat again. Um, Page 3 Flash itself was developed nearly a decade ago by an EMDR therapist named Phil Manfield, and it was understood as a way to solve a particular problem in EMDR, and it's a problem that's very familiar to many of you, which is that people that don't have a lot of adaptive information, people that don't have a huge window of tolerance, the memories they most need to work on may be very big, and Flash let you, as an EMDR therapist, take an 8, 9, 10 memory and get it down to a 1, 2, 3 memory so that you could go into that memory at a 1, 2, 3 memory and then resolve it. And who wouldn't want to do that? So if that's what Flash was, that would be worth a 3-hour training on a on a Monday morning. That's what Flash was, because that sounds pretty darn remarkable. Like, what kind of technique is going to make an 8, 9, 10 go down to, like permanently go down to a 1, 2, 3 memory that you could then clean up in EMDR therapy? But I think what we learned is that, well, why wasn't Flash fully resolving memories? If it can make a 9 memory go to a 1, 2, 3, why didn't it just go the rest of the way? And I think what we've learned, and what this version of Flash is an example of, is that we didn't know how to do it well. Right? There were just things we didn't, you know what I mean? It's like you knew how to do it kind of, and it mostly worked. So this version of Flash is built around a very specific understanding of how humans heal. And everything in it is governed by that understanding. And everything that's not needed, that's included in other versions from that particular understanding of how humans heal, is taken out. So this version of Flash is conceptually and practically different than other versions. So if you've trained in other versions and there's counting in it, or there's a lot of client talking in it, or there's slow bilateral stimulation, there's none of that. There's SUDS, there's none of that in this version of Flash, for very, very specific reasons. So if you've taken another version of Flash, I invite you to come at this with a beginner's mind, because literally what we're doing in a minute is we're going to be reorganizing what a mind is. We're going to be rethinking what a mind is, from a organizing metaphor that is becoming the dominant metaphor of neuroscience, which is that we don't have a reactive mind, we have a predictive mind. We have a mind that is constantly constructing and predicting our realities. And that's the mind we need to hack, right? That's the mind we need to understand and figure out how to update saliently learned information. Flash involves a series of 2 non-intuitive things. Okay, now let me explain what I mean by non-intuitive, because it's super critical. Everybody here probably has an intuitive thing that they go to when they get activated, right? For some people, it's numbing. For some people, you know what I mean? For some people, it's running, going, right? We've got these strategies, and clients do too. For some of us, it's rumination. Have anybody here rumination your kind of go-to strategy? That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Rumination, every part of us is like, oh, we got to figure this out. And then we do it and we hit the same block. And then we do it like 50,000 times. And we never go, oh, crap, this strategy doesn't work. So that's what part of what trauma is it like has you go down the wrong roads endlessly in ways that make perfect cultural sense. Does it make sense? You can find rumination in Disney. You can find rumination in the romance novels. Rumination is, and again, even therapy is go to therapy and catharsis this stuff out. Go to therapy and have a certain type of catharsis to get it out. So my point is that, where does that intuition come from? It comes from cultures. Does it make sense? We didn't invent any of this. It comes from cultures. We think it's ours. It didn't. And what are cultures? Cultures are families and extended families and neighborhoods and parts of town and do you know what I mean? Schools and community mental health clinics. Community mental health clinics are cultures, right? Does that make sense? And it's huge, and all the way to like these global mediated social networking cultures, right? We're all in this very, very complex nest of cultures. And what I'm asking you to do in Flash doesn't make sense from the perspective of any of those cultures. It's really, really, really strange. So my point is, Flash works, but you've got to get past that this doesn't feel right. Does that make sense? And again, I'm just going to say that this doesn't feel right. The things we've been doing forever that don't work feel right. So do you see what we kind of have to do? And isn't that also a lot of what therapy is? Do you know what I mean? We understand this intuitively. A lot of what therapy is you have a survival inertia that's helping you survive, but it's coming at a cost. And maybe there's a way to survive that might be a little bit more adaptive, that might, and yeah, it's going to feel weird. Do you know what I mean? Getting up on a particular day and not doing your default coping strategy is going to feel weird. But here's these other things we're going to do instead. So the two non-intuitive elements in Flash is first that we look at a memory blindingly fast. And whatever you're thinking of, it's faster than that. So because we don't do it. If I were to have you, I'm not going to have you do it. If I were to have you think about a memory, a video is probably going to start playing. Does that make sense? You're probably going to like hear somebody say something, and then that's going to show up in your body, and then you're going to see them, and then you're going to feel the guilt, shame, blame, responsibility, and then that whole cascade of things. We're not doing that. Does that make sense? That's a whole chunk of experience. What we're doing is we're going up to a memory. This is vitally important. Imagine this is the memory. Oh, better. This is the memory. This beanbag is the memory. It stays in your brain. We're not bringing the memory into working memory. We're looking at it so quick, there's only time for a tiny piece of it to come into working memory. Not the whole memory, just a tiny piece of it. Okay? So if you have a good wrist, you have a good shoulder, I invite you to copy me. Let's imagine this is the door of the room you're currently in. And what I invite you to do is open and close the door as fast as you possibly can. Okay, that was great, but it was way too slow. Zombies are going to walk right through that door. That's way too slow. Can you do it again and try to do it 100 times faster? Okay, do you see that if you were looking at a memory that quickly, or you were looking at anything in your room that quickly, there wouldn't be time to see the whole scene. There wouldn't be time to feel very much. There would just be, if in the memory your father's like, you're so stupid, we're just getting, and even as I say that, that doesn't feel right, does it? That's not how we normally do trauma. Do you know how we normally do trauma? We catharsis it. We like, and then the other time, and that other time. I can't believe and then all of a sudden we're like, whatever that stuff is, it's not just in our mind, it's not just in our thoughts, it's in our body, and our whole like affect is trauma filled. So we're getting such a small piece of the memory that our predictive mind doesn't know for sure what to do about it. Okay, it's like, this is not good territory, but it's so small. I'm not feeling the huge wave of catharsis, crisis, catastrophe that I usually feel. So, and even as I say that, do you have memories? Think about it. Check with yourself and check with your parts. Do you have memories to where if I say there's a way to resolve them without you feeling it strongly, do you have parts that will be like, I need to get mad. I need to get mad. I need to feel it. I need to like, do you see that impulse? That impulse is largely a byproduct of habit and culturally inspired intuition. So you can look at a memory lightning fast. Okay, you can. It just doesn't feel right. Okay. And then what we do, we look at a memory lightning fast. We push it out of our awareness. We're going to talk about why we do that. It feels like avoidance. It's not. Not from a predictive mind. Again, the old intuition is we got to swim in it. It's got to be in our viscera. We got to feel it. You got to feel it to heal it. You got to set your viscera on fire in order to heal. And they're ways to heal in that way. But what if you don't? What if you can process information in trauma as information rather than as distress? And what if we'd equated the information with the trauma as distress because we've just been playing too much of it for too long? Okay. And why would we do that? I don't know. Cultures are really good at getting us to ruminate. They're really good at getting us to shame, blame, humiliate, immolate ourselves. So we look at a memory blinding fast, push it out of awareness. And you know what else we do? Never happens outside of flesh. You know what we do? Puppies. Immediately we go to puppies on YouTube or kittens or a bubbly hot pizza coming out of the oven. My client's favorite calm scene, and I know there's going to be some people in here, I'm going to see some heads nod. The favorite calm scene, she'd bring her favorite deli sandwich to session. And then she'd just be unwrapping it. The first few rounds we're doing this, she's just unwrapping the deli paper, right? And then she's smelling a sandwich. This is weird stuff, isn't it? But I'm telling you, you can process childhood sexual abuse while engaging with a sandwich in Flash. Or whatever it is, your favorite TV show, right? Parks and Rec, highlight clips from Parks and Rec, or The Office, or whatever else it is, right? Highlight clips of those videos. We don't normally do that. That's weird. Now, what we do is we activate all this trauma. Typically, culturally, we activate all this trauma, and you know what we do? We try to distract ourselves from that activation by watching YouTube videos and those things. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, what I'm talking about is activating a little bitty tiny piece of something and immediately having an experience that is demonstrating to your nervous system that that little piece isn't happening right here, right now. And we're using a disconfirming scene on YouTube. And how does our nervous system reach the conclusion it's not happening right here, right now? Because it's not happening in our sensory system. Puppies are. It's not happening in our interoceptive system, the warmth or whatever of the golden retrievers jumping up and down in fields of hay, chasing tennis balls is. Okay? Sensible? That is very, very strange. That is not trauma how we normally do it. If you're working with a kid, they may be thinking very quickly about the trauma and throwing a little beanbag or throwing something across the room. And then they're immediately pressing play on their favorite YouTube video of their favorite YouTuber playing their favorite piece of video game. And then we're just processing the trauma. We're processing trauma while watching YouTube in this version of Flash. I'm telling you, it works. It works reliably, predictably, consistently. Okay, good. When Flash is done well, this is a claim. You don't need to believe it. I'm not in the faith business. When Flash is done well, memories fully adaptively resolve. Using every metric that you would consider that memory resolved in EMDR or any other therapy. What do I mean by that? A positive belief about yourself already installed. Okay. That memory, all parts of you experience that memory is over. Okay. You can't now experience it as happening now. It's fully processed. All parts of you experience it as over, which means it does not show up as flashbacks. It does not show up as trauma haunted dreams. Your nervous system experiences it as over. And Flash also causes memories to generalize. And if you're like, what? I'm an EMDR therapist. I thought only EMDR did that. No, healing does that. Healing causes generalization. And it may be that EMDR, because it's like so channeled and slow, EMDR may cause more generalization. I don't care. Does that make sense? EMDR might be like the big brush hog that you pull behind the tractor. It's going to clear out a lot. What flash is the mower, the push mower that's going to let you manage the catastrophe of the front lawn. Does that make sense? We'll get to the back 40 acres later. We're just going to we've got 4 foot tall grass to deal with in the front lawn. Flash lets you start by starting and managing the right now catastrophe. And it does well, right? Even your push mower will work just fine in the back. Does that make sense? So good. Page 4. The steps of this version of Flash. These are the steps. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. We're going to then talk about working mechanism, and we'll go through the steps slower. But before we talk about other stuff, we have to sketch it out. So I'm just sketching out the high points in the steps. What is important? Remember when I said that the memory is staying in your brain where trauma is. We're not used to thinking, even a lot of the research into working memory, the way they talk about a memory, they suggest that a memory, a whole memory, is either in working memory or not. It's almost like a bowling ball that is either in working memory or it's not. And what Flash does is it says, wait a minute, that's an assumption. What if you look at that memory so quickly that you just get a bean out of the bean bag of it, and all of the rest of it stays there? Okay. Do you know what a little bitty tiny slice of a memory is in a predictive mind? It's very easy to change if you give the nervous system the right type of sensory disconfirmation. Okay. So we're not working a whole memory at a time. And those of you who are EMDR therapists, you're not working a whole memory at a time. You're working slice at a time. It's just the slices are much thicker. The slices in Flash are paper thin. The slices in EMDR are kind of like, remember Flintstones, the huge steak they're like dinosaur slices. They're like huge slices in EMDR therapy. And in Flash, they're not. They're little bitty paper thin slices. And this bean that we bring into working memory by looking at the memory so quickly that there's only time for a little bitty tiny piece of it to come into working memory, that piece of it we push out of our awareness, right? Why do we push it out of our awareness? Because you just brought it into working memory. You touched it, you saw it, you accessed it, you put it in a container, and now we're going to send it away. Bringing it into working memory allows your brain to start making predictions about it. And I don't want it to stay there. Do you know what happens when it stays there? It wants to grow because of our instincts about, let me figure this out. Let me think about other times when my body felt this way, right? So we bring a tiny piece of it into working memory. We put it in a container, or we just do that. Can y'all do that with me? Just send it away. So you just send it away. See what that message sends, that motor movement sends. It sends the message. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not, goodness sakes, I'm not noticing it. Okay. So that's what we're up to. We're not noticing distress. And if you're like, what? But I'm a somatic therapist, and I am too. But I'm telling you, there's 167 other hours in the week that we can do that. In Flash, we're putting our laser beam on a memory, and we're about to resolve it. And to resolve it, you got to do what Flash requires. What this version of Flash requires, if this is the version that you're working in. If you want the memory to fully adaptively resolve, we need to do what it requires. Okay? So again, we bring a tiny piece in the working memory and then we send it away. We do not contain the whole memory. Why? The memory's staying in your brain. You're not touching the whole memory. You're only touching a bean of it at a time, a little bitty slice of it at a time. Does that make sense? Because a lot of people can't conceive of the context of only getting a little bitty tiny piece of a memory, because trauma wants to come in like Kramer in Seinfeld. It wants to come in the door like our Kool-Aid man from the 80s, right? Just exploding into consciousness and awareness. So we have to practice microactivation to get a little bitty tiny piece of it and then send it away. And if we're sending it away, it's helpful, like in EMDR, to have something it can go into and send away. If not, and if you struggle visualizing, I'm gonna talk about strategies where you don't have to visualize at all. Okay, but even that is enough of a container for most people. That motor movement. Think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far away. Your client goes, they do that. Now we're ready to go. Does it make sense? I've just done what I've asked you to do. Okay. Containment. Because if it stays here, it's going to junk up the parts that come next. Okay. That's one of the intuitions that is not needed in Flash. The intuition in Flash and other therapies is you gotta stay focused on that memory. You have to flood yourself with it. You have to no. We just touch it. Just touch it. You touch it the way you touch a hot skillet with a wet finger. That's it. That's enough to bring a little piece of it into working memory. And then we're about to give your nervous system the experience, redundant experience, that little piece of the memory is not happening right here, right now. Because it's not happening experientially right here, right now. And those of you that heard what I just said, your brain is learning that the memory is not happening right here, right now, because it's not having the experience of it happening right here, right now. That describes what healing is in every transformational trauma therapy we do. It's not until your nervous system has the experience of it being over that it can update it as over. Okay? The other thing we do in step one is we develop a container for body-based distress, because you can probably guess that just thinking about the memory is going to cause it to show up in your body. And if all of the distress from the memory, I want to be moving away from you, distress in your body is a problem. And again, this is disturbing for somatic therapists. They're like, but I spend all this time helping clients welcome things into their body. I do too, but in Flash, no. Does that make sense? Distress in the body from that memory is a problem. Why? Because if it's happening in your body, your brain isn't going to make the conclusion that it's over and update it. Does it make sense? If you have distress in your body, we have a vacuum resource. It's called a Shop Vac, which is a brand of vacuum in the US. And we literally vacuum the distress that just came from that memory into your body. We vacuum it out. And if that feels sacrilegious, I know. There's plenty of time to do the other things. What are we trying to do? We're trying to resolve a memory today. Yeah. Yeah. Many of your clients, so again, we'll talk about telehealth in a little while, but there's ways of doing Flash through telehealth. Yeah. Easy ways, especially if you're working with young people. Because in telehealth, I guarantee you, you are one of 20 windows that are already open, right? They can toggle between you and YouTube effortlessly, right? Many people under 40 can do that, like no problem. Okay, so we'll talk about telehealth in a little while. So we have a vacuum resource that vacuums distress out of the body, and then your vacuum canister becomes your container and it goes away. If you're like, my clients can't do that, they can. Most of them can. Or we can find an appropriate accommodation for that resource when they struggle with it. The step two, we develop a calm scene. Calm scene is the YouTube video. And don't give your client the calm scene. Does that make sense? We need something that again, I did this early on. I'm like, okay, this video seems to work for everybody. It's a beautiful island beach relaxation. I mean, you just look at that video and you just start to feel, you can almost smell the sea in it, right? And then I'm like, oh, you want to try this? I show it and we're trying to do Flash. And the client's like, my biggest phobia is sharks. I just look at that and I see sharks everywhere. And that was very early on. I'm like, oh, no. You need to pick your pleasant scene. You got to pick your pleasant scene. And YouTube has 20 plus billion videos. One of them is going to not stink for most of your clients. One of them is going to be compelling, interesting enough. Okay. And then the other resource we do in step two is we teach sensory grounding. Can't do trauma work without grounding in place. Does it make sense? Because even just looking at a memory quickly, that memory can grab you and pull you in. Do you see the problem? That's a problem if you don't have grounding in place, but we have grounding in place. So these four resources, container or this, right? Vacuum, pleasant scene, calm scene. And again, calm is not the right adjective. Safe is not the right adjective. It can be calm, fun, engaging, distracting, beautiful, silly, astonishing, whatever, pleasant, any of those things. Okay. Funny, it can be your favorite comedian. Highlight clips from your favorite comedian's Netflix special. Okay. And then grounding. Those four resources form like the four walls of the chimney. There are four resources that allow us to do this work without risking burning the house down. They need to be in place or appropriate accommodations. I don't do this version of Flash without resourcing in place. The way I teach those four resources are very compatible with very complex clients. Many of your clients can't do calm scene in EMDR therapy. Struggle with that. Calm scene is a YouTube video. They're watching YouTube or equivalent 25 hours a week anyway. They know how to do that. Their nervous system has already identified that as a safe resource. Container vacuum, pleasant scene, and grounding. Yeah. Step three, once the resources are in place, we're ready to start working somewhere. And where do I want you to work? I want you to work very, very small. Why? Why are we starting very, very small? Because Flash is so non-intuitive, you need to learn how to do it by doing it. Does that make sense? So you wouldn't teach somebody how to do a dance on a tilt-a-whirl, right? You teach them how to do the dance on flat floor, and then if they maybe can try it on a tilt-a-whirl later. Does it make sense? We need to get, Flash is so non-intuitive, we need to get the new intuition developed. So we're going to start very small memories for 3 or 4 sessions. And then after 3 or 4 sessions, you can start to work on the big ones with most clients, including the big ones that most broke you in childhood. They resolve with the same ease, typically, as the smaller ones. What's different is that the velocity's faster. It's almost like the ball that they're throwing that's coming out of that memory is coming harder. Does it make sense? So you need to know how to catch. Have you ever taught a kid how to catch something? Do you know what you have to do? You have to show them how to put their hands together, right? And you literally toss it into their hands, right? And then you back up and you toss it a little bit farther, right? And then you show them how to throw. And then it goes there and there, right? So do you see what we're doing? We have to develop this, and it takes 3 or 4 sessions to do it. So we're starting with something very small that's more frustrating than trauma. Okay, let me give an example. Does anyone here live with a knucklehead? Okay, it could be a teen, it could be, do you like them? Do you love them? But are they also kind of a knucklehead? Do you know what I mean? That might be a good thing. Does that make sense? So a teen that is teening, that is like doing the things that they think they need to do to test out, a teen that is teening, right? Or a partner that's just dumb sometimes and doing a dumb thing sometimes. Does that make sense? Just whatever that thing, but yet you care about that. That's the kind of small thing. Now, if that's your big black hole, not that, right? And again, other things you can think about. Everybody here has gone to, almost everybody here, I would assume, has gone to grad school. You had that one professor. You know what I mean by that? That one professor that was just weird and arbitrarily mean, and on one particular day, he was mean to you. Probably he, but not necessarily. So, does that make sense? Something. Good. Okay. We're going to start somewhere. And what we do is what I would do, this is how quickly selecting the memory is. I am trying not to activate you. I'm going out of my way to select the memory, but not activate it. Okay. This is not phase 3 of EMDR therapy, where we select the memory and we set your viscera on fire. This is not that. What I say is there a memory that you would like to work on today? It can be a memory that we identified prior when we were doing our history taking or when they were doing their target selection, right? When we're doing our float backs, whatever. Is there a memory you'd like to work on today? Is it an individual memory that happened at a particular place and time? I want to make sure it is a memory and not a theme. It's not bullying my 7th grade year. And to all parts of, you think working on that memory is a good idea today. Check. Check. Yeah. Okay, good. Push that memory out of your awareness. Let me know when it's gone. Look at a blank wall, blank ceiling. Let me know when it's gone. You see what we just did there? We selected, but you didn't tell me anything about it. You didn't give me a trauma narrative. You didn't narrate at all about it. We've selected because you know what happens when when a client starts talking about the memory? Remember how I said we're trying to leave the memory in the brain? It does this. And if the memory's here, do you know where else it is? It's all over the body. Does that make sense? So we're trying to select the memory. And I know memory is a lot like this. A memory is like a weird mousetrap that the moment you point at it, your hand is pulled to it. Does it make sense? We can feel the gravity of trauma. We're trying to do this. Does that make sense? We're trying to not let your client go there. We're trying to select it, but not activate it. Okay. Once we've done that, we go to step 4, load up your calm scene. Let me know when you're there. The client presses play on their puppies video or their favorite music. You can make a playlist of your favorite music. Okay. Sensible. And again, the playlist of your favorite music is it's not your breakup playlist. Does that make sense? It's not your angsty teen in the dark bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that playlist. It's the power anthem, get up and go, etc. playlist. Make sense? Good. So the client just plays this. They're engaged in this thing. It also doesn't have to be YouTube. It can be music that you're listening to. It can be your favorite Spotify playlist. It can be you. And again, this is so different than EMDR's calm scene. I have to be incredibly clear about it. So I'm apologizing that I'm doing this, but it still doesn't land even when I say it. With your hand, with your dog that's in the same room with you, you can pet with your hand right now on your dog. That can be your calm scene, or your cat. An actual cat in your actual engagement with them right now can be your calm scene. Or if you look on the 4Blinks website, one of the demos was with a mom of a little baby with cheeks the size of oranges, right? Just loving on the baby. That can be a calm scene. Okay. And the mom's not saying anything about trauma. Kid isn't exposed to trauma. Your puppy's not exposed to trauma. They're just the engaging scene that we're having fun with. Okay. Your clients are in this engaging scene for 30 seconds about at a time. Okay. Now here's where it gets a little bit complicated. Okay. They're in the engaging scene 30 seconds at a time, except every 5 seconds the therapist says blink. Okay. And when you blink, you want to blank out. You can't I don't want you to blink like that, because you can blink like that and you haven't really disrupted your calm scene. So when I say blink, I want you to blink for half a second or a couple of times quickly. Do you see how that disrupts something? Imagine I'm your calm scene. Now blink, close your eyes, open them. Do you see how that disrupted? Do you know what these disruptions do? Again, you're in your calm scene 30 seconds at a time. The therapist says blink every 5 seconds. Imagine I'm your calm scene. Blink. Do you see what just happened? I went away. Now you're having a new experience in your calm scene. The blinks turn a 30-second calm scene into 6 individual 5-second calm scenes. So the blinks split a calm scene into many M-I-N-I or M-A-N-Y, either way, calm scenes. Okay. Do you have something in your room that is not on your computer monitor? Okay. Imagine I'm your calm scene and look at any object in your room. And the moment you see it, turn back and look at me. Do you see what you've just done? Look at an object and turn back to me. Do you know what you've just done? You've done the functional equivalent of a blink in this version of Flash. You don't have to blink. What the blinks do is they disrupt your concentration on your calm scene so that you have to go back in and have a new calm scene. Okay? You can look at the doorknob in your room and then look back at the video. You've just done the equivalent of a blink. Okay? Sensible? Okay. Here's what I will invite you to do. Give me a second. I invite you to, do you have a piece of paper somewhere near you? Paper and pen? Get out a blank piece of paper and pen. And on it, randomly write numbers from 0 to 9 all over the paper, not in any order at all. Just randomly write numbers on that piece of paper. Good. The therapist does not count out loud in this version of Flash. Good. Okay, you got it? Okay, good. Put that piece of paper like in front of you, maybe at the base of your display or monitor where you don't have to turn all the way around to see it. Okay, now imagine I'm your calm scene. In a moment, I'm going to say a number. And when I say that number, I want you to quickly look down at your piece of paper, find that number, and then look right back at me. Okay, good. I'm your calm scene. Look at me. 5 seconds. 6. Find it real quick, right back at me. Do you see what you've just done? You've just done the equivalent of a blink. So when we practice this in about an hour and 10 minutes, we're going to do numbers instead of blinking. Okay? Good. Does it make sense what the blink / numbers, and with kids, you can do this. You can put just Post-it notes of different colors on the wall. And then when you're doing Flash and you're playing with them or doing whatever with them, every 5 seconds, you just say, okay, find orange. And then they look at orange and then they go right back into their whatever they're doing. Find blue or whatever they're doing, right? Or you can use Elmo characters. You can use any kind of thing to disrupt and generate a large number of pleasant calm scenes. Okay? The methods for doing this rather than blinking is that blinks are not standardized in the sense that if the purpose of it, conceptually, what we're trying to do is disrupt your calm scene, some people blink like that. Does that make sense? And I don't know that that's done that. Do you see what I mean? So it is, I know if you've looked away and you found a number and you go back, I know that the next time when you go back into that video, you've gone out of it, right? From what we're going to talk about our brain's precision weighting point of view, you've gone out of it and now you're going back in to create a new experience of it. You can blink. Your clients can blink. I'm just showing you. By the way, let me give an example. I've tested this with therapists who come in the weekly Flash groups that I do. There's an app where you can paste. I've developed a website where you can paste your YouTube video and it blinks for you, meaning every 5 seconds, at 5 seconds it's on, 1 second it all goes white. And then a second later, it's all back, your YouTube video. And you know what happens? It works just as well. Does that make sense? So not only do you not have to blink, YouTube can blink for you. Not only do you not have to blink, you don't have to look away. You can watch a video and it can disrupt itself. That doesn't make sense until we get to what we're going to talk about in a moment. Okay. But do you see that blinks are not, people are like, what neurobiologically are the blinks doing? The blinks are just disrupting your attention on the calm scene. Anything else can. You can tap your legs, tap, tap every 5 seconds, go right back into your calm scene. Any motor movement that distracts your attention can be helpful. Okay. Questions? How does this sound? It's weird. I told you it was weird in the beginning.
If you're using music, do you pause the music to create a blank?
No, because the motor movement is enough of a distraction from the. So imagine you're like, imagining you're listening to your music, and then I say five. You open your eyes, you look at your sheet. Does that make sense? You find the five, and then you go back in. It is enough of a disruption to accomplish it just fine. Okay. Again, enough of an attentional shift causes a disruption and then causes you to, yeah. Yeah. So the music can still be playing. And when your YouTube video is playing, it can play the whole session as long as the client can hear you over it. Does that make sense? If it's disruptive when you're doing the check in, you can have them pause it. But for the most part, most of my clients, their YouTube videos play the whole time, the whole flash session. We never like stop it, it just keeps going. Okay. So again, here's language from step 3 into step 4. Okay. The memory this is one way to do it. The memory you talked about last time, maybe wanting to work on today. Is that the memory you'd like to work on today? Good. Do all parts of you think working on that memory is a good idea today? Yeah, good. Just push it out of your awareness, blank it out, let me know when it's gone. Okay, that's step 3. Step 4, load up your calm scene, let me know when you're there. They press play on YouTube, they nod, gives a thumbs up that they're there. 5, find the 5, go back. 7, follow me with this if you can. 9, 2, and 6. Okay, good. How did that go? Were you able to, I'm asking, were you able to stay in your calm scene even though I kept pulling you out of it? Okay, good. Are you able to keep finding your way into the calm scene even though I kept pulling you out of it? Excellent. So, you know what we do next? We get a piece of the memory. This is the first time that we're getting a little bitty tiny piece of the memory and bringing it into working memory. So that in step 5 is where we bring little bitty pieces of the memory into working memory. The language for that is lightning fast. Think about the bad memory. Whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far away. Let me know when it's gone. And when we do this, I want you to use your hands. It lets me know when it's gone. Okay, good. And then you know what we do? We go right back to step 4. Load up your calm scene. Let me know when you're there. So we're in this loop. Microactivate, contain, calm scene blinks. Microactivate, contain, calm scene blinks. Step 5, step 4, step 5, step 4, step 5, step 4. Dozens and dozens of times. And after about 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes, you notice it's taking longer and longer and longer for the client to find what's distressing in the memory. So when they first start, you like really quickly think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing, catch it, contain it really quickly. They're like doing that. We're not telling them where in the memory to look. Whatever comes out when they look at it quickly, that's what they catch and contain. Right now, we're not giving them an order or structure. This piece may come, that piece may come, this piece may come 5 times, that piece may come, this piece may come, the piece that came 5 times may come another 5 times. Does it make sense? Whatever order, their brain selects. Literally, the words are whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. That's what we're doing. So awesome. So we do this, and you notice it's taking longer and longer and longer for them to find what's distressing. After a little bit of time, you can say, let me know when you're having a hard time finding what's distressing in the memory. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. We'll get to these questions in a little while. So we're doing this loop. And after some time, it's getting harder for them to find what's distressing. And then we need to go and clean out debris. And now we're going to step 6. So once they let you know it's getting harder to find what's distressing in the memory, we go to step 6, where I have you play it like a video from the first frame. And you raise your hand when you find the first piece of distress. Okay? So they do that. They raise their hand. You know what we do? Catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. And you know what we do? Calm scene, blink, 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 or 6, 9, 4, 2, 3, right? Whatever we're doing. Our colors, however you're doing to disrupt the calm scene. We're doing that. Good. How did that go? Were you able to be in your calm scene? Yes, good, good. When you return to you see what we did? We started here and now we're checking. That piece of the memory that just had distress in it, is there any distress in it in this moment? Yeah, a little bit. Good. Catch it, contain it, send it far away. When it's gone, calm scene. Good. Blink, 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 blink. How did that go? Good. That piece of the memory that just had distress in it, is there any distress in it in this moment? No. Play it forward. Let me know when you find the next piece. Got it. Okay, good. Catch it, contain it, send it far away. Let me know when it's gone. Okay, good. Blink, 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 blink. How did that go? Good. That piece of the memory that just had distress in it, is there any distress in it in this moment? No. Play it forward. Let me know when you find the next piece. I just got to the end of the memory. Okay, turn up your sensitivity, go back and play it again, and let me know when you find the next piece of distress. Do you see what we're doing? We were doing like this before, just kind of knocking down and processing the peaks of the mountain tops, right? And now we're down here and we're just smoothing out any bumps. Okay. But we're in our step 6, and only in step 6 are we working chronologically, because I really want to process all of the distress in the memory. Because 90% of the time, 98% of the time, to be honest, when clients think they can't find distress when looking at the memory, there's almost always debris. And the step 6 videotape finds it and allows us to process it. And you're not done. We're playing the memory through beginning to end until you can play it beginning to end and there's no distress on any channel. Okay, and that takes, on average, about 20 to 45 minutes with most clients. Okay. And when you get to the end, that memory is fully resolved. And there will be, you can ask yourself, if your memory resolves in our practice, ask yourself, is there something I believe about myself more positively? There will be. Ask yourself how much you believe it. It's going to be a lot, right? And we've never discussed beliefs at all. Okay. The videotape approach at the end is basically the equivalent of phases 5 and 6 in EMDR therapy. It does the installation for you. It just doesn't do it in an explicitly cognitive way. Okay. Again, questions about memory selection we'll get to in a little while. Yeah. How does that sound? All these steps. It's a lot. We're going to go through it again slower in a minute. And then in step 7, what we're doing is we're doing everything we just did, but with a future scene. Okay. Can you think of a future scene related to the memory you just resolved? Yeah. Okay. We want to make sure it's not catastrophic. And then what we do is very quickly think about the future scene. Whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far away. We do all of these steps, but instead of saying bad memory, we say future scene. And then we process that future scene. That usually takes 8 to 10 minutes to process a future scene once you've resolved the past memory. Okay, the future scene should not be catastrophic. Okay, that's true in EMDR and Flash. The future template should not be catastrophic. Okay. Questions procedurally about the steps. If the client can't find a memory, well, first of all, if they don't have, it's simply not true that they have none. The clients, because how many times have you seen this client? Have you seen them 8 times? They've come to session with you 8 times and haven't missed one. Do you know what that means? They know who you are. Do you know what that means? They have memory. For the most part, maybe 1 in 100 has a neurological incident, right? Do you know what I mean? In general, your clients have memories. What I think y'all are focused on is what about the dissociated childhood? Well, we're not starting there anyway. Do you know where we're starting? This is 2026. If you don't have anything before 2020, I'm not worried about that right now. You've got 2025. You've got 2024. So we're going to work where you have memory. Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes. Yes.
So, are you saying that steps 1 through 6 typically take about 20 to 45 minutes, or is that step 7?
No.
Okay.
No. What I'm saying is that steps 1 to 2, developing resources, can take a session or two.
Okay.
Okay. Steps 3 to 6, which is the processing of a memory, takes between 20 minutes on average and 40 minutes, in that range. And then step 7, processing a future scene takes about 10 minutes.
So,
Okay.
would it be okay to do step 7 in another session if need be?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. To be clear, I want to, again, this version of Flash defines what a memory is. A memory is not a theme. It's not bullying. It's not the death of your grandfather. When the death involved him getting sick, him being in the hospital, him being in hospice, him dying, having a funeral a few days later, and the first Thanksgiving without him. That is not your target. Do you know what your target is? A single individual memory that lasted from several moments. A memory can be sometimes only a few moments, or it lasts several hours. Does that make sense? A memory is a single contiguous chunk of learning. If you went to sleep and woke up the next day, that is not a memory. Those are different memories. Does that make sense? So a memory is a single chunk of learning that's not an existential question. It's not just the worst part of something. Does that make sense? It's a piece of it that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay? Any questions about what a memory is?
Could I ask something about the calm scene, Tom?
Yeah.
About sometimes I have clients, particularly younger clients, and they want to choose something like zombies or being, at the top of a cliff and there's a lovely, you know, vista. I mean, on the surface, that doesn't feel very calm, but they enjoy it. Is there
Yeah,
anything that you would sort of say don't go with? Because I think you did mention something earlier that didn't sound quite appropriate, but is
yeah,
there any sort of parameters for young, well, for any client really,
yeah,
particularly, the kind of things they may be watching,
yeah,
in their bedrooms or, for adults and young people, I
yeah.
guess. So,
Well, under no circumstances am I going to watch pornography with a client. Does that make sense? I mean, we've got to like do stuff that we can reasonably, morally, you know what I mean, justify. Um, so So yeah, there are probably some bounds, especially related to kids, because they're going to go home and say, "I watched zombie movies with Miss Sharon today." You know, maybe not. So, but what's important is that it shifts affective state in their nervous system. Does that make sense? It doesn't matter whether I like it. I mean, one of my favorite EMDR my clients, his calm scene was a NASCAR arena with 90,000 other drunk men around him. And like my skin's crawling, but for him, he felt like absolutely zoned in and embodied and like perfectly, right? So it is, here are the rules of the pleasant scene. The pleasant scene has two rules. It needs to shift how you feel in the present moment quickly and in a positive direction. Okay. The other rule The other rule is that it cannot intersect in any way with the bad memory. Okay? You can't use beach scenes from Maui to process divorce trauma when that's where you honeymoon. Does that make sense? You can't use what's wrong with funny laughing babies, right? Don't y'all seen those videos? They're just funny laughing babies. You can't use babies to process memories of child loss. Does it make this an intersection? It does not work. Okay. And even like you think, oh, my favorite show. But guess what? If you're here to process divorce trauma, your favorite show might have been the only thing in COVID that didn't suck with you in that relationship. Does it make sense? So if there is an intersection, we have to stop and immediately change the scene to something different. The world is filled with engaging dissociative media. Literally, it feels like it's the whole point Western society exists anymore. It's like to pervasively distract ourselves, right? And people will say, well, what about the big problem of all of this? I'm like, look, that's a problem of government. I'm just trying to like help people heal. Does that make sense? I'm going to use the ubiquitous tools of modernity to help people heal because they're more accessible than Starbucks. Make sense? So we'll figure out what to do when your clients actually are on a YouTube detox. Does that make sense? We'll figure that out. But right now they're not. Okay. So good. Yes, if someone had birth trauma, you would not use their baby. You would not use rocking their baby. No, it's an intersection. Just trust me, it doesn't work. It's like division by zero. It doesn't work. The calm scene. Good. As we're moving into page 5. Again, now we're getting to the point where I'm going to give you a new model of the brain because triune brain was really helpful for a very long time, for decades. Triune brain was helpful. We've all been trained in it. Limbic brain, brainstem, neocortex. 3 different brains largely competing over control. 3 brains pancaked on top of each other, largely competing for control over your mood, over your perception, over everything. The problem is triune brain, first of all, see how this sounds. Triune brain was invented by a guy born in 1913. In the 1950s, 1960s, triune brain came from an evolutionary model of vertebrate evolution that we now know, really know. You're not going to find anybody that's going to argue with this in neuroscience. We now know that model of vertebrate evolution is not true. It's just not true. Okay. So it's built on a foundation of a brain that we thought we had. but we have learned an enormous amount about the brain in the last 50 years and an enormous, enormous amount about the brain in the last 12 years. And the brain that we have is not a reactive brain. It is not. It is a brain that is always on 24/7 until you die. It is a brain that is always changing. It is a brain that what it is now is the byproduct of trillions of milliseconds of learning. Who you are is a byproduct of trillions of milliseconds of learning. Okay? And yes, we understand that the trauma parts of it aren't meant to be changed easily. That's what trauma is. It wants to shift your brain's largely unconscious version of attention toward itself for survival reasons, very powerful survival reasons, right? So here we go. The brain that we seem to have, because we've been able to kind of start the process of mapping not just these highways of communication in our brain, but the direction of flow of that information. From the point of view of perception, we've thought sensory information came in through your sensory organs, went into the sensory structures, and then went deeper into your brain where meaning emerges. Does that make sense? So our brain converts things into colors and textures, and then those bits, just millibits of data go deeper into your brain, get refined, get reduced, get clarified, get connected with constructs, and then deep in your brain, cup, right? Yellow cup emerges. Does that make sense? But that doesn't seem to be the brain that we have, because the flow of information from deep in our brain is mostly down toward the sensory regions. And you're like, what? Why would deep in our brain, why would stuff be going mostly down toward the sensory regions? And what we think is that we have a model of the world deep in your brain made of everything you've ever been through. That's not controversial. Y'all believe that, don't you? We have a model of ourselves in the world built from everything, every experience we've ever had. Okay? That we're going to call the generative model. It's the model that's been generated over the course of your whole life. It is the model of yourself in the world. And from that model, your brain makes guesses. Tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of guesses every second about what it thinks you're about to sense. And when those predictions don't match sensory information, precision error is returned. And what goes from your sensory regions up back deep into your brain are error signals when the guesses don't match prediction. And this is actually a pretty efficient way for a brain to work, because most of our lives are really, really organized and structured. And what our brain really needs to pay attention to is the things that don't match prediction, right? So when prediction error signals are returned, your brain has two choices. It can issue a revised cascade of prediction based on that prediction error, or I'm telling you, this is a big deal, or it can update the tiny piece of the generative model from which the predictions were based. So what we have is we have a brain that is making guesses, a large cascade of guesses without our awareness. This happens, you remember how fast we used to think that the limbic brain was? We say, oh, this is so fast. No, this is whole orders of magnitude faster than that. Your predictions are blindingly fast, right? And your brain is already ahead of you all the time, right? So let me give an example. Every word, first of all, every word that I'm saying makes any kind of sense because of the constructs that are in your mind. If you got the wrong Zoom code and you were here for a Taco Bell managers meeting, you are very confused right now. Does it make sense? It only makes sense because for many of you, EMDR makes sense. Therapy as a construct makes sense. Training makes sense. Do you know what these constructs are lining up and they make sense? Okay. Now, it's not just perception that's organized by this way. Language is organized this way. Let me give an example. So, your ability to understand every word that I say, like if every word, so your ability to understand each word that I'm about to say depends upon everything you've ever tacoed. Oh, do you see what just happened there? Right? I just introduced prediction error. And then when prediction error can be like jolting sometimes for our nervous system. So what was some of your brains doing? Right? Some of your brains recognized that sentence didn't end with the expected word. Do you know what that means? Your brain had already computed a large number of candidates for how that sentence was going to end, and it didn't end in the predicted way. And then your brain may have go, taco, that doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, Taco Bell managers meeting. Tom's making some point about the predictive mind. Okay, so we've got a brain that predicts, a sensory system that might disconfirm. And when that disconfirmation happens, when it's salient enough and when it's redundant enough, remember, trauma isn't meant to be updated easily, but we're not updating a whole memory. Do you know what we're updating? We're updating a tiny, tiny, tiny slice of it. And you can do that easily if you give the nervous system the right type of sensory disconfirmation, i.e., prediction error. This is very compatible with Bruce Ecker's understanding of memory reconsolidation. Bruce Ecker says if you want to update something, activate it, and then have the client sit with an experience that disconfirms the expectation in the bad memory. I'm going to say that differently. Activate a piece of something, have the client sit with an experience, must be an experience that disconfirms the schema in the bad memory. Do you know what that is? That's prediction error. Do you know what an EMDR? Who here is an EMDR therapist? Difficult stuff. The core of the AIP model is that difficult stuff is connecting with adaptive information that's already in you. Do you know what that is? That is, by definition, prediction error. That is the pathway with which your brain updates. Prediction error. Who here does parts work? Parts work is when parts of you have experiential relationships with other parts of you. Experiential. Parts work is experiential work in which parts of you have experiential relationships with other parts of you that are different than the learning and the trauma. EMDR 2.0, we don't need taxing working memory to explain EMDR 2.0. And I know don't like report me to EMDR 2.0 is amazing, but man, people are fanatic about their taxing working memory. In a predictive mind, you don't need it. Do you know why? Because what you're doing in EMDR 2.0 is you are activating the heck out of something, and then you are distracting them from that activation. Do you know what the distractions do? They disrupt the effective predicted sequela. You're not having the experience that your brain was expecting you to have. That is literally how we heal in everything from exposure therapies to EMDR to flash to whatever. And what are we doing in flash? We're bringing a tiny piece of the memory into working memory, pushing it out of awareness, because the moment you bring it in, your brain must make predictions about it. What working memory is what you bring into working memory stays there for a little while. And while it's there, even though you're not focusing on it, your brain is still making predictions about it. And in the predictive model, what does it have to use to base those predictions on? It's got that little bitty tiny piece of the memory, and it's got your affective state. It's got what's coming into your sensory system. And what's coming into your sensory system? Bubbly hot pizza coming out of the oven. Puppies jumping up and down in fields of hay chasing tennis balls. And that little piece of the memory that's now in working memory in the black box of your skull, that little piece of the memory is encountering this disconfirmation. And your brain is, some of the predictions are like, oh, this isn't safe. I usually feel really crappy when we're in this territory. But look, puppies, right? Look, puppies, that disconfirmation updates not the memory, but that little bitty tiny piece of the memory. And then the next piece, and then the next piece, and then the next piece. So this Flash starting to make sense now? Okay. The other element of the predictive mind we haven't talked about is called precision weighting. And it's not waiting as in wait till 5 o'clock. It's waiting as in like, where is your brain in this vast flow of the model of yourself in the world, in this vast flow of prediction and prediction error and sensory information? We have megabits of data coming into our brains every second. Okay. Where is your brain focusing its attention on? That's precision weighting. And you know what trauma does? Trauma shifts your brain's largely unconscious version of attention automatically toward itself. Does it make sense? Trauma wants to pull you in it. And when trauma pulls you into it, then you're flooded with affect that is not prediction error. You're flooded with affect that is confirming because it's what's happened all the other times. Does that make sense? So what looking at a memory does is it brings a tiny enough piece into working memory that gives you something for your brain to start making predictions about, but it's not enough to suck you into it. Does that make sense? It's enough. And the calm scene is a present-based. Remember, we heal in transformational trauma therapies in the present moment. It is a present-based disconfirmation of the expectation of the bad memory. Right? Do you know what else is a present bait really like helps you stay present and shifts precision weighting toward the present? Is the bilateral of EMDR therapy. The here, 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 here. Whatever else the bilateral is doing in the brain, surely it is keeping us in the present moment. And the present moment is the only thing in the predictive mind that can keep the bad memory from happening again. Does that make sense? The information in the sensory state is the only information that might disconfirm the learning and the trauma. So predictive mind is very, very good for somatic therapists. It's very, very good for EMDR therapists as a construct because it explains you don't need EMDR's working mechanism if you have the predictive mind. All you need to do is show how EMDR helps leverage therapeutically helpful prediction error to update a difficult memory. Sensible? That was a lot of stuff. If you're interested in a deeper dive into this, I've got a podcast episode on the EMDR podcast. The very first grouping of articles are all about predictive processing. That's my EMDRIA 2025 talk. Okay. If you're interested in a book club, David Archer and I are running an ongoing predictive processing book club. I'll give you the link for that in just a moment. It's free, of course. Book club, we're currently reading Andy Clark's The Experience Machine again. We're going to be reading other things in the months that follow. So you're going, and again, you don't have to transition away from triune brain metaphors and stuff right now. I'm just telling you, the predictive mind is a remarkable version of the mind for therapy, and it strongly suggests, has really strong implications. And if that's for like how therapy should be conducted, because if that's the mind we have, then we got to do therapy for that mind. Does that make sense? If what we actually have is a predictive mind, our therapy needs to be directed toward that mind. And even though I've described this in terms of perception and in terms of memory. The concept of a model, prediction, prediction error, and weighting, your brain uses that construct across almost everything a brain does, right? In managing things like heart rate, body temperature, right? Sodium, like all of the allostatic things that your body does, our capacity to move, your ability to smoothly move your muscles is built upon model, prediction, prediction error, and precision weighting. And in just this movement right here, that movement right there may be hundreds of thousands of predictions, sensory information, and prediction error signals that allow me to smoothly move muscles. So if that's what a brain is, we need to work with that brain. And Flash is literally the most blatantly obvious way of working with this brain, because what do? You bring a tiny piece of the memory into working memory. You give the body an experience that's different than that, that's different than many of the predictions the brain makes. And you leverage deeply salient experiential learning right here, right now, to update a little bitty, tiny piece of the memory in your mind. And then when that memory updates, we know what, if you're a DMGR therapist, you know what happens when a memory updates. When a memory updates, new learning hits your nervous system and it gets propagated through it. And it resolves lots of other things we don't have to learn. We don't have to so let me give an example. What is the song when you were a teen that you sang out loud 500 times, and now you're driving in your Honda and you see it on Spotify and you're like, oh crap, that's not the word. And then what is it? What is it? The songs that you now learned all these years, like what's the word that got updated? Put in chat or unmute. Like, what is it? Come on, let's have a little fun. Can't just be me. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Taylor Swift does not sing Starbucks Lovers. Loose Kisses is actually Loose Gooses. Okay. Wanna be starting something, Michael Jackson. Oh, Blinded by, yes. That is one, yes. But once you know, do you know what I mean? Once your brain has, it's hard, much harder. Jive Turkey. Yes, the Bee Gees, it's not Jive Turkey. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. Good. All right, questions. This is a lot, and I know y'all came for a technique, and I'm like trying to blow your mind, right? But it's time. It's time to start updating, because the predictive mind is infinitely more flexible and marvelous than a triune mind. And if it turns out to be true, right? If what, and again, this is not just me. This right now, the predictive processing framework is becoming an organizing framework across most of neuroscience about what a mind is. Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. Excellent. All right. Any questions? We also understand all of this intuitively. Don't um
Can you talk more about when when is a good time to use the flash technique
yeah.
compared to the standard
Yeah.
EMDR?
For me, that's it. Are you right now? Are your clients prepared to do EMDR? If you're an EMDR therapist and they're prepared to do EMDR with them. If they're not prepared to do EMDR therapy, but you can prepare them in a session or two to do Flash with them. The requirements for EMDR and the requirements for Flash are completely different. That's really good news. So Flash and EMDR developed in the same culture, right? Flash developed inside an EMDR context, but Flash is not EMDR light, right? Flash is not like a Mandarin orange to EMDR's orange. If EMDR is an orange, Flash is a kitten, and it's like not even an orange kitten; it's a gray kitten. It's like complete. There's, as you can already tell, there's like nothing that understanding Flash is going to help you do EMDR better, and nothing that understanding EMDR is going to let you do. So, and again, once you have a client that's prepared to do Flash and prepared to do EMDR therapy, what I do is I ask clients, how do you want to work today? Right? Think about it. Those of you that do parts work and you do EMDR, if your client wants to do parts work today, are you like, oh man, crap, I was wanting to do EMDR. We're like, no, let's do. Yeah. Yeah. I'm developing Flash. The book comes out this summer. I'm developing Flash into a full approach to psychotherapy. Because if Flash actually resolves memories, it has to become one. Does that make sense? If I'm right, y'all may not know yet. If I'm right, there's no other thing that fully resolves memories that hasn't become an approach to psychotherapy yet. Does that make sense? But the fact that here's the hardest part. There's not enough distress in Flash for people to believe it's real. Okay? There's not enough distress in Flash for people to believe it's real. But mic drop. So one of the reviewers for the book said this. Let me find it. It's so like salient. Trauma work does not become more legitimate because the client is suffering more. Does that make sense? Okay. So when to use Flash, when to use EMDR, I don't care. Does that make sense? I don't care. Client may say, I got to see my mom tonight. Let's do Flash because I don't want to be having heartburn from it. You know what I mean? Or they may say, I actually slept pretty well. Let's do EMDR because it may clear out more. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So can you use Flash in lieu of EMDR? When would you use Flash Manfield version versus predictive processing? I don't use Manfield's version because what he's trying to do is different than what I'm trying to do. Right? He's the original developer of Flash, but his goals are different than mine. Right? He's trying to use it largely as a tool inside EMDR therapy, and I'm trying to change how mental health services are delivered globally in my lifetime. Right? So Flash is a thing that can go global. EMDR, and again, I'm an EMDR trainer. I'm a really big advocate of EMDR therapy. EMDR therapy for most therapists with most people with really, really extreme trauma is a remarkably difficult task. What you need to do EMDR therapy with your most profoundly traumatized clients requires probably hundreds of hours of really deep, careful study and learning. You can learn Flash and your clients can pretty much fall over sideways into healing in Flash. Now, here's the challenges in Flash. Number one, if distress comes at all, this is super important and non-intuitive. If distress comes at all, you must stop. You must stop right now. We do not push into distress in this version of Flash, not 1/10 of 1 ounce. Okay, you don't. And you use one of your core resources to deal with it. Why? Because if distress is building in your body, your predictions are not compatible with healing. Does that make sense? If you prediction error is not being generated, if your experience in Flash replicates the expectation in the bad memory, you're re-traumatizing your client. Does that make sense? The experience must be different. It must not be in your body. If it is in your body, that's why we have a vacuum resource. If you push, 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 push into the stress, do you know what may happen? Worst case. Your mind, your client's predictive mind will go, okay, all of this is trauma. And you know what you've just done? You've just made golden retrievers a direct trauma trigger to the memory you're trying to process. And it may be there if they don't do subsequent trauma work, it may be there the rest of their lives. That does not happen down here. Does that make sense? But if your client is activating, real harm may occur, and associations in the predictive mind may be made if flash is a re-traumatizing experience. That's why we have to show clients how to microactivate. We have to get their consent that we're not gonna activate. Yes. Again, I see Lisa Feldman Barrett. Lisa Feldman Barrett is probably really right about the brain, but none of them understand how we actually heal. They're just going to the dominant tools. That's why in the predictive processing framework, cognitive neuroscientists are talking with computer programmers who are talking with infant learning specialists, who are talking with specialists in how our eyes convert information to electrical signals, and are talking with people who are basically statisticians about things, right? So all of these people are talking, and you know who's not at the table enough? We're not. Does that make sense? We're not. We need to be at that table because we see up close how healing happens. They don't. So they're pulling on other things. They're going to CBT because that's all that's out there. We're the specialist in how people actually heal, how this actually looks clinically. They've got a really good view of the brain, but we need to be at that table too. There are 6 demos of Flash by telehealth on Fourblink's website, Fourblink's website. At no point do they have to talk about the trauma. Flash will work well when the client is able to do what you're asking them to do. If the client can't do what you're asking them to do, Flash is not going to work well. Does that make sense? You have to be able to do what you're asking you to do. What am I asking you to do? Microactivate. That's hard. I got to show you how to do that. We got to practice that. Anybody here at a desk? Does your desk have a drawer? What I want you to try, those of you, we're going to watch you. Those of you at a desk drawer, I want you to open and close the desk drawer so quickly that you only see one thing. Were you able to do it? Do it again, faster, and only see one thing. You were able to do it? Do you see what that is? That's what we need to show them how to do. You can do it with a cabinet. You can do it with a door. You can do it with a cupboard. You can do it reading. So do you have something near you that is text? Okay. Put it in front of your face at a reading distance. Okay. Make sure you can see the words clearly. And then what I invite you to do is close your eyes and then open one eye and close it so quickly that you only see one word. Are you able to do that? Keep doing it until you can. And when you're able to do that, those are strategies that we can use to show people, demonstrate to people how what I'm asking you to do when you look at the memory is to get one piece of data. One data point, not a video, not a whole bunch of it, just one little bitty tiny piece of something. Okay, one little bitty tiny piece of distress, for instance. Okay, good. When to use Flash, when to use EMDR therapy, we've already talked about that, page 8. They're both good, I don't care. Any competition that they have, this stuff's ridiculously political. Does that make sense? It's ridiculous. Those of you that do parts work sits on your toolbox And it doesn't fight at all with EMDR, does it? Right? EMDR sits on your toolbox. It doesn't fight with anything else you do. Flash can sit on your toolbox and be absolutely okay there. Does it make sense? Any conflict or comparison is our shadow puppetry of them. Does it make sense? And we probably do it for stupid political or other bureaucratic reasons. Does that make sense? So they're both good. The way I think, I like the idea of EMDR being like a brush hog behind a tractor. It clears like 30 feet. Flash in the beginning is like a weed eater. Does that make sense? You know what the weed eater is going to do? It's going to create a path to get you out of the house, sometimes quite literally, right? And then it can become a push mower, right? Good. Should we stop using EMDR and only use Flash? I don't necessarily, I mean, you have EMDR on your toolbox. Use EMDR when your client's prepared to use EMDR. The biggest advantage of Flash is that Flash builds adaptive information out of puppies on YouTube. Does that make sense? You start with Flash, build adaptive information, pivot to EMDR, and you're going to get them out of therapy faster. But I've already alluded to this. If I had one thing to give therapists everywhere, it wouldn't be EMDR. Do you know why? Because complex trauma is the most ubiquitous presentation everywhere. And we will heal ourselves faster in Flash than we will EMDR going global. It's easier for Flash to go global because I can train you in 3 hours. Does that make sense? It takes me 50 hours, 52 hours in the way that I train to train you how to do EMDR well enough to work with a healthy person. Okay? So, all right. Questions?
So I like your analogy of the mower and the big digger for EMDR. But if I know analogies only go so far. It's never 100%. But
Right.
let's say we're cleaning up a piece of land. There's grass, there's a tree. EMDR will remove the tree for sure.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're removing grasses first. But then if you think about that analogy, can't you just remove everything with a big dozer regardless? So that gets rid
Yeah.
of the flash need.
Well, what would be the big dozer? Would that be what would be the EMDR? Well, why do tens of thousands of people come to a Flash training if EMDR is super, super easy to do with really, really extreme trauma? Do you see what I mean? So what
if it's too much, they may not be able to sustain.
Yeah, if yes, I mean EMDR is remarkably hard to do with the most complicated. Yes. What are the contraindications? The contraindications, I'm not doing Flash with anybody who cannot do what I'm asking you to do. And the core resources test it, right? If you can't microactivate, we're not doing Flash. If you can't have a pleasant experience in a pleasant scene, we're not doing Flash, right? If you can't, and again, Flash involves some quick task switching. Some people really, really struggle with task switching. Yes, EMDR requires adaptive information. Flash does not. EMDR, just really quickly, and I'm telling you this as an EMDR trainer, not because I'm trying to bum you out. EMDR requires that your nervous system already have the answer to unlock that trauma inside you. That adaptive information has to already be in you. That's the core of the AIP. That's not controversial. In EMDR therapy, you can truly believe everything that ever happened to you was your fault, and that memory will still resolve. The information it's connecting to isn't your right now fund of adaptive information. It is the pleasant experience in the disconfirmation of the YouTube video. Yes, you need to assess for dissociation because I'm not the clients on the extreme end of the dissociative spectrum, the clients that I'm assessing for DID. They cannot give consent. Consent is an essential component in this. We're going to do parts work until their parts are able to communicate consent to doing this. Many of their parts exist to protect the system from distress. Clients on the DID end of the spectrum are the only clients that I'm not doing flash with second, third, or fourth session. I'm literally doing flash second, third, or fourth session with many of my clients with borderline. Why? Because it's this activating. Their snap point is right there. Does that make sense? We're staying down here. Okay? Yes. If you are struggling with the idea that you're having a hard time finding an individual memory because trauma was daily, you're getting way ahead of yourselves. Does that make sense? Because that's not where we're stuck. We're getting to those memories in 2027. Does that make sense? Or maybe late 2026. That's not where we are now. Right? So if your client doesn't, this is just the way it was. They can't find an individual memory. There's a chapter in the EMDR with complex trauma book that I'll point you to. Give me a second. That helps you find individual memories when trauma was daily. Goodness sakes, don't do that. Don't start there in flash. Does that make sense? We're not going to, why don't start with what you have. Start with small. Remember, we're going to start with that. It's chapter 47 in the EMDR. It's how to find individual memories when trauma was daily. After you've done 10, 12 memories in flash, then you can do that and find a memory find a memory of an absence in childhood. Find a memory of an unmet need in childhood using that approach. It is not true that clients with complex trauma can't find individual memories. Most of them can. The problem is our standard floatbacks aren't precise enough to elicit them. Right? Again, you search for, if you search for Los Angeles and pizza, you're going to get tens of thousands of matches, hundreds of thousands. Does that make sense? If you search for Los Angeles, Orange Street, you're going to get 2 places that you can eat at today. Does it make sense? So you have to like narrow. Yeah. Are there memories that aren't suitable for flash? No, once your client has it down, any memory you can process in flash. Any memory that you might process in EMDR therapy, except for the pre-verbal ones. Pre-verbal ones are mostly somatic. I'm going to want to do that. I'm going to want to do those memories in EMDR therapy, but you're not, that is differential calculus. You're not starting there anyway. We're in basic arithmetic right now. Okay. All right. Page 9, step 1. Let's develop some resources together. And again, the EMDR container, you may be like, yay, I have the container. No, you don't. You have an EMDR container. You don't have a flash container. If, again, you have multiple things in your bathroom that have bristles. If you're using them for separate things, they deserve to be separate objects. Okay, let your EMDR container be your EMDR container. Let your flash container be your flash container. Okay. Now, what does the flash container hold? It does not hold a memory. Do you know what it holds? A little bitty tiny piece of a memory. Because that's what we're containing, because that's what we're activating. And if you look at the memory and a little piece doesn't come out, a London street bus comes out and it's sitting on your chest, I'm not doing container, I'm doing sensory grounding, which we'll talk about in a little while. Make sense? So when I say container to hold a piece of something, what comes to mind? It can be a box, it can be Tupperware, it can be a mailbox, it can be anything. It needs to open, close. If you struggle visualizing, don't worry. Don't worry, you struggle visualizing, we're gonna do this again in a way that doesn't require it. Good. Do you have a construct? Those of you that can visualize, do you have a construct of a box? Notice it, spin it around in your awareness. Notice what it's made of. Notice how it opens and closes. Okay, do you have it? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Those of you that are doing this because you can visualize. Okay, good. Can you imagine a blank Post-it note going into that container and imagine the door closing or the lid closing? Does it feel like it's in there? Check. Okay, if not, check C. You want to make sure that your container can contain. Okay, and if it feels like it's in there, can you get your container? This requires breaking all the rules of physics. Can you get the container, send it far away, like send it 1 billion miles away, send it past the planet formerly known as Pluto? Okay. Good. And does it feel far, far, far away? Okay, good. Now, can you imagine an empty warehouse filled to the ceiling with empty containers so that anytime you need one, boom, there's one available in the world. It just shows up automatically with the door open. Okay, we are never bringing the container back. The containers we get activation here, we send it that way, and we never bring the container back. Why? Because whatever didn't get resolved in that memory in the last micro slice, whatever didn't get resolved in our next round of the calm scene with blinks, finds its way back into the memory automatically. We never ever bring the container back. We only get content from the memory itself. Right? And if this feels ecologically irresponsible, remind your client that it's only an imagination. Okay? Good. Now, if you struggled visualizing, here's how you can outsource the container. In my office, I have lots of bean bags. You can use the little dollar store smiley faces. You can use whatever, okay? I have bean bags. We dump them on the table. The basket that the bean bags live in is across the room against the wall. So what I do is I give them a bean bag and I say, throw the bean bag in the air. Think about the memory only when the bean bag is in the air. And whatever's distressing, put it in the bean bag and send it away. Okay? Okay, do you see what we just did there? We just made the beanbag as a timer. It's not going to leave you in the memory too long. To catch it, you have to track it with your eyes. Do you know what that means? You have to stay here. It helps promote present awareness when I'm most worried about you being pulled into the memory. Okay, think about the memory when the beanbag is in the air. Whatever's distressing, put it in it, send it far away. Those of you that do telehealth, in every house, there's a piece of paper. Tear it into strips, tear the strips into cubes, make little balls of paper. Clients can catch it, contain it, send it away. It makes a big old bunch of mess in their bedrooms, but you don't care because it's not your office. And then they go scoop them up, put them in a Dixie cup, and then they have them there next time. Does that make sense? You can literally outsource activation and containment to little bitty balls of paper. Okay? Good. Excellent. Does that make sense? This is also a strategy you can use when clients are struggling over activating. We want them to look at the memory and they leave the barn door open and cows and horses and all this stuff just comes and tramples them. This helps them do that. You can also give them an explicit open. If they keep activating the memory too much, what you need to do is you need to say you're thinking about the memory too long. Let's ground And next time you look at it, I want you to look at it 100 times faster. And if you do it again, then I'm going to go, okay, let's ground again. And now, when we look at that memory, I'm going to say open, and immediately after that, I'm going to say close. And it doesn't matter what you're seeing, thinking, feeling, whatever. When you hear me say close, you're going to look at me, and we're going to send away whatever was distressing in that difficult engagement with that memory. Okay, are you ready? Good. Think about the memory, open, close, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away, let me know when it's gone. And if the client can't do that, that's too big of a memory to try to work on today. Pivot to one smaller. Okay, ground and then pivot to one smaller. Okay, so if you can't microactivate, we're not going to just keep going. I do not ask them what the memory is because we're handling it like a hot potato. And if they tell me what the piece of the memory is, do you know what they just did? They just spoke memory content into consciousness that our brain now has to make predictions about. And that's only going to make it worse. Does that make sense? Now we're doing this. Does that make sense? You don't need to know what the distress is. You only need to know that it's moving away from them. Okay. And if the distress is really bad, you don't need to know what it is. You need to ground them. Does it make sense? You need to ground them and vacuum up whatever debris may be left. Sensible? Okay. All right. Step one, part two, shop vac. Have y'all, sometimes people haven't used vacuum cleaners. That's amazing to me. But have y'all used the vacuum before? Have you pulled the hose off a vacuum and cleaned up a couch or cleaned up your car or dropped some coins into a car wash vacuum cleaner or maybe even used a dust buster or something like that? If you're using a dust buster, you got to make it 100 times stronger because dust busters are pretty weak. At least they were the last one I had. So the vacuum is the container for body-based distress. Okay? We want to catch the distress here, but sometimes it just hits the body. Does that make sense? Sometimes, and again, it's not your baseline that we're vacuuming. You have clients that are an 8.5 out of 10, normal on a Thursday morning. That's not what we're vacuuming. Do you know what we're vacuuming? What got worse when you just looked at that memory? It is the somatic activation from that memory only that we're vacuuming out. Okay? You don't have to be relaxed to do flash. My clients are on the edge of panic, and if there's enough for them to microactivate, they can do flash. Sensible? Vacuum out body-based distress. So what I invite you to do, I'm gonna need to trigger y'all a little bit. Do you have a client? Imagine the client that most stresses you. Are you seeing them on a day that's not today? Are you seeing them later in the week? Let's imagine you look at your schedule and you're seeing them right after this training. Are you noticing any body activation as you do that? If you do, turn on your vacuum and vacuum it out real quick. Right? Just vacuum it out, use your hands, kind of vacuum it out. Try to see whatever that stress that just came in as a kind of colored smoke leaving your body going into that shop vac hose. Good. Were you able to get some of it? And again, this is a visualization exercise. We're going to talk about modifications if you struggle visualizing. Were you able to get some of it? Now your shop vac canister becomes your container. It goes away. Send it away. Okay. Did you notice a shift in doing that? Okay. If not, you're going to need to find it, right? Can you find that distress in your body? Use your hands, scoop it out, and send it away. Right? Other strategies that we can use, sometimes you just get up and wiggle. Does it make sense? So we need to explore with the client, how do you get distress out of your body quickly? If the client has a breath, you can breathe it out. You know what I mean? You can just breathe it out, whatever it is. But we need some strategy to get the stress out of the body, because if it's happening in your body, that's a problem in flash. Because if it's happening in your body, your mind isn't going to update it as over. If it's happening in your body, your predictive mind has to predict what's happening in your body. Does that make sense? And now it's going to make predictions about the effect of its prior predictions. And that's not going to be good. Does that make sense? So if the stress is in the body, we need to quickly vacuum it out. If the stress rushes into the body, that's not a vacuum. That's a container. Yeah. How do I use flash to handle cold hand, feet due to anxiety? If your client is having a somatic thing from flash, you got to stop because that's probably an intrusion. Does that make sense? So if we're working on a memory when the client was cold in childhood and they're telling me they're cold in their body, I am immediately stopping and grounding. That is the memory is solidly in your body and flash is not working. Does that make sense? We're working down here in flash. If it is 1/10 of 1 ounce distressing, you're stopping and you're dealing with that activation. It doesn't typically flood into the body when you microactivate. Yeah. Shop vac, how does that work? Or do you have appropriate accommodations to the shop vac resource? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Body distress is a problem. So we have to have a strategy to deal with it. Okay, good. I'm going to give you 90 seconds to find something that if it was accidentally playing on your phone during a counseling clinic meeting and you might accidentally burst out laughing, find that. Like find what is it that's so funny or engaging that it can't help but shift your affective state. So go to YouTube, find that. I'll be back in a few moments. Yep. You're going to need this when we practice it in about 10 minutes. All right, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. Question in chat about the prior question about how do I know if they're cold? I'm going to ask them, is what you're experiencing from the memory? Does it make sense? I'm just going to ask, is that from the memory or is my office too cold? Does it make sense? Client says they're cold. I'm going to say, okay, is that from the memory or is it environmental? Okay. All right. How did that go? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Did you
Sorry
find
for
something?
putting you back. On that cold hand, cold feet question, what if it's their general, let's say a few days long feeling due to anxiety?
Yeah, well, then that's not our target.
Magic. Okay.
That's not our target. Our target is the memory, and I'm looking at what got worse when you look at the memory. Does it make sense? People will come in and they'll have all kinds of anxiety in their body. That's not our target. What we're containing and what we're sending away is what got worse when you look at the memory only. Okay, good. All right. Sensory grounding. Do you have what you need for it? Do you have your vanilla candles or your essential oils or your coffee? Do you have what you need for the sense of smell and taste? I'll give you a moment to find it if you don't. Okay, good. In this grounding exercise, we're going to check our senses blindingly fast. The whole exercise will be over in about 35 seconds. Okay, we can always stretch out this more later. Okay, but right now we're going to just engage our senses really, really quickly. If all parts of you think that's a good idea, then I invite you to look around your current room, notice whatever you see, notice if you were to touch each object, would it be hard or soft or some other texture? Good. If you have a piece of furniture near you, just touch it and notice, is it warmer, cooler, or the same temperature as your hand? Good. I'm going to be very quiet. Notice whatever you hear in order of loudest first. Good. If you have something near you that has a smell, feel free to engage in it. If you have something near you that has a taste, feel free to engage in that or just notice whatever you are tasting. Good. How did that go? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Okay. Which of those senses helped you feel the most present? Which of those seemed to be the most anchoring and shift your brain's version of attention toward the present moment the most? Okay, good. If in the exercise you need to ground, start with that sense. Okay, start with that sense. Okay, and then you're going to ground until all parts of you know where you are. Does that make sense? Till you're really, really in 2026. Remember, right now, sensory awareness is the only thing we've got in a predictive mind to disconfirm the lessons in the trauma. It's the only thing we've got that can reliably, predictably pull us out of trauma-related precision weighting toward the lesson in the trauma. It's a very strong magnet. Okay? And re-experiencing it is confirming, not disconfirming, right? It's re-traumatizing rather than producing therapeutically leveraged prediction error. Okay, good. Those are our 4 resources: container, vacuum, calm scene, and sensory grounding. The 4 walls of our chimney that allow clients to do this work without significant risk of them burning the house down. Okay, we also need them to practice microactivation. Looking at that memory super quick. It is so non-intuitive, they're going to do what we all do, which is you've never, let me put it this way, absent flash, you've never looked at a difficult experience with a clear, open, and an explicit close. Does that make sense? When we engage with trauma, we only open. We don't ever have an explicit close. Does that make sense? Unless you're doing a really, really restricted protocol, like in EMDR, where there is like the videotape approach has a very explicit open and close. But other than that, we just say, oh, have fun, rummage around in your whole trauma-haunted experience. Let this go where it goes, rummage around. No. We're laser focused. One thing, find it, open, close. That is it, that quick. So in Flash, there's always an explicit close. There's never an open without an explicit close. Does that make sense? And this is vitally important. And I have to say this over and over and over, and it still doesn't land. If the only time I'm asking you to think about the memory is very briefly in phase 5 and very, very briefly in phase 6. Does that make sense? I'm only asking you to think. So you're never thinking about the memory unless I'm right here, right now, asking you to. Because people hear things that nobody said. Oh, I'm thinking about the memory when I blink. You do not think about the memory when you blink. Do you know what you do when you blink? You literally blink. Does that make sense? I didn't say blink and think of it, right? So you're only thinking about the memory when I'm right here, right now, asking you to think about the memory. And if you're thinking about the memory every time you're blinking, you're activating at the very time I'm trying to get you to update the little piece that we activated to begin with. Does that make sense? You're just activating. That's not going to go well. So only think about the memory when I'm right here, right now, asking you to. Clients can't do that. Well, if they can't do that, then you've picked too big of a memory. Find a memory small enough to start with where they can. Okay? And then let them get good at this. Let them become flash ninjas. And once they're flash ninjas, you can go anywhere and process any memory. And it's going to resolve 90+% of the time in a single session. If they can do what you're asking them to do, if they can micro-activate, send it away, calm scene with blinks over and over and over, and you have a good 50 minutes, it's going to resolve the vast, vast, vast majority of the time in a single session. And if it doesn't, how do you pick up on incomplete work? Guess what? You need to do some closure because we did trauma work, but unlike EMDR, where we like get a whole loaf of bread and dump it all over the place, we are only working a little slice at a time. I am constantly grounding you in your calm scene. So if the memory didn't fully resolve, we don't have a whole bunch of distress to deal with. We only have little bitty tiny ripples of distress that keep getting sent away from us. Does that make sense? So whether the memory resolves or doesn't resolve, it was never in your viscera deeply. Does that make sense? It's not, those embers aren't in your nervous system that you're going to go home with and have a forest fire. So flash is associated with a very low risk, when you do it well, with a very low risk of clients decompensating after session. That alone should be a reason to do flash because it's one of the biggest things we worry about. So when you start small, ooch up, and you start to get to big things, clients, the vast, 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 vast majority of the time do not tell you that they had a horrible time afterwards because they never got set on fire to begin with. In a perfect flash session, there is no distress, but I've never seen one. Does that make sense? It's like in a perfect flash session, we're processing the information in the trauma as information, but it's just impossible for there not to be some distress. Does that make sense? And that's okay. That distress that we send it away, we send it away, we send it away. And then you're just healing, micro slices at a time. The video cleans up any debris. Yeah. It can be helpful. What I would say, whether you do body scan or not, it can be helpful with some clients. One of the best things you can do before a flash session is ground. Does that make sense? Ground. Because then you have people come to session and they're not here. They're not here. Where are they? They're up here in their ruminative state. If you ground, you can go from your calm scene here. Does that make sense? You can activate that difficult memory a little bit here instead of up here. And you're like doing this, try to do this up here. No, it's a really good idea to begin many sessions that you do flash with grounding. I would argue it's not a bad idea to ground at the beginning of an EMDR session or even a parts work session. Does that make sense? I think grounding, trauma work encounters problems when your clients aren't here. And inviting them to be here is just a good way to begin. How many times do you direct the client to put the distress away before you determine that I'm unable to do so? Yeah, if this helps if you start with a very, very small memory, because then the distress isn't explosive. Does that make sense? We're tossing a tennis ball rather than having a college baseball player throw a ball at you super, super quick. Yeah. All right. Page 14, select the memory, but do not activate it. I think y'all got that. They're not giving us a trauma narrative. They give you a trauma narrative. And if you don't want them to give you a trauma narrative and they give you a trauma narrative, that does not mean all is lost, but we're not going into flash. Why? Because the memory's in consciousness and the memory's in your body. Do you know what we need to do? Ground. Ground, 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 ground. To get the memory far enough away from you so that you can bring little pieces of it into awareness at a time. Sensible? Grounding seems to be the answer to almost everything in this version of Flash. If you don't know what to do, just ground. So maybe you don't know what the client's like, you don't know what to do, ground. You're not gonna regret it. Grounding is the beginning of things. Yeah.
It sounds like we need a pretty well-trained client for Flash.
You need to train your client really well for Flash before you start to do the big memories. My clients with really extreme trauma, my clients with significant dissociation, my clients who don't want to feel, right? My clients who are very worried about everything they carry do Flash just fine. When you start very small and ooch up, and by the fourth or fifth target, you can go places, real places, big places. Okay? This works with memories. Okay, so it doesn't, I don't care whether the memory is a memory of unsafety or an embarrassment or shame. If it's stuck and it's being experienced as happening right here, right now, Flash can update it. I don't have an opinion about what the type of memory is or what emotions it generally, your brain generally tends to predict about it. Step 4, load up the calm scene and blink every 5 seconds. Were y'all able to do the number thing when we did it earlier? Does everybody have a piece of paper with numbers written from 0 to 10? I mean, 0 to 9. Good. And put it where you can easily just look down. If you're doing this every 5 seconds, you're going to get dizzy. We don't want to like set off anybody's vertigo or anything. Just look down, look right back at your calm scene. Yep. Good. Don't assume, lots of worries in chat. Don't assume your clients can't do this until you've seen them not do this. Does that make sense? We like this is so different than what we've ever done. Try it. Does it make sense? And try it yourself, right? Try it yourself. I do Flash groups for therapists every week. Come to one of the Flash practice groups and try this more yourself. I'll give you those resources before we're done. All right, step 5, microactivate the memory, contain whatever comes out, and go back to step 4. The language I'm going to use in the group we do in a moment, very quickly, think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing, catch it, contain it, send it far away. When it's gone, calm scene. Calm scene, load up your calm scene. And I'm going to do my numbers, 2, 3, 9, 6, 4, right? Random numbers. Okay. And then what I need you to do, this is important because what's different, well, you're going to do this, we're going to do this about 30 minutes. Okay, we'll do this about 30 minutes. And when we do it, well, maybe 25 minutes because I'm running a little tad bit late, is that when you are working with a very small memory, please, it's Monday morning, for goodness sakes, do not reach in your trauma container and grab a monster. That is a remarkably bad idea. Do this with a small frustration, right? Something that if it resolves, it's had enough distress in it to know that it was helpful, but don't do this with awfulness. Does that make sense? It's Monday morning. Be kind to yourselves. If this doesn't work for you, you probably still have clients to see today. Don't. So work on a small something. But when you do that small thing, it may feel like you can't find what's distressing in it. Then I need you to start playing it like a video from beginning to end. Because everybody's going to arrive there at a different time. Does that make sense? I can't guide a whole group. I don't know when the whole group is done. Make sense? So when you think you're done, you're not. Play it like a video. And only when you can play it beginning to end and there's no distress that you're done. Okay, sensible? Good. Some safety things real quick. If you're in your calm scene and the memory comes into your calm scene, you probably didn't send it away far enough. You need to stop whatever it is that came in, grab it and send it beyond Pluto. You need to see it sailing past that little bitty tiny icy rock, right? Send it far away. And then come back into the calm scene on the next round. Okay? Good. Get out of sync with me. If you're containing, you're grounding, ignore me. Get out of sync with me and always come back in when I say load up the calm scene. Meaning if you were just dealing with distress, don't come back in on think about the bad memory. We just sent distress away. We need to process it with a round in the calm scene. Don't double activate. Does it make sense? So get out of sync with me. I'm going to keep an eye on chat. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on chat. And if you have questions, let me know. Okay? We work one memory at a time only. Well, Tom, I'm remarkable. I'm a therapist. I can do all of this. We're doing this 20 minutes. Let's practice this the right way and work on one memory at a time only. And if other memories want to come, do you know what that means? You need to check your body and vacuum some stuff out, because if other memories want to come, it's probably the affect in your body from that memory building. So memories wanting to come is a clue that we've overactivated already and that nothing good is about to happen. So working gets consent from our parts to work one memory at a time only. If distress comes at any point, immediately stop. If you let me get double activation. What that means is you just overactivated and you're grounding. And now you've grounded and you're ready to come back in. Come back in when I say load up your calm scene. Do you know why? Because loading up your calm scene is what's going to process that piece of activation. Don't come back into the group process when I say think about the bad memory, because you just grounded and now you're activating again. Does that make sense? You always want calm scene with blinks to be sandwiched between your points of activation, right? Because our whole challenge, everything we're trying to do is trying to prevent overactivation. Okay? Everything we're trying to do is helping to, it is the avoiding the activation that is creating the prediction error. The calm scene is just an easy strategy to do that. Okay? Okay? All right, shall we do this? Okay? I'm going to give you about maybe 90 seconds to stretch, do whatever you need to do. And then we'll come back and do this together. All right, excellent. Question in chat. If the stress comes in, do I ground or vacuum or a container? If the distress comes and it goes away with the container, that's all you need to do. Does that make sense? If the stress comes in and it's like, that means you looked at the memory too long. Does that make sense? And you may need to ground. Okay? So it depends. Right? Grounding is what you do when a whole bunch of distress comes in. Does it make sense? Or you're having a hard time even like following the process? Ground. If you don't know what to do, just ground. Trust me, just ground and then come back in. Okay? Good. All right. Are y'all ready? I will keep an eye on chat. Please do not ask in chat client consultation questions. If you're having a difficulty, I can help you with that, but don't ask like questions in chat while I'm trying to lead the group. I'm not quite that nimble. Okay, we'll do this until, if you're worried about what to pick, here's what I would suggest. Can you think of a frustrating thing that has happened in the last few weeks that is not trauma? Frustrating. Last few weeks, not trauma, meaning that thing you're going to be fine a few weeks from now after you sleep on it. Does that make sense? Meaning it's really, really safe. Does that make sense? That's the kind of thing that we're thinking if you want to play it safe. Okay. If you've done a lot of your own trauma work, you can work on something a little bigger. Does that make sense? But if this is one of your first flash sessions, don't take a car with 6 miles on it to the interstate to see how fast it can possibly go with your client driving. Does that make sense? Let them, let's work, this parking lot, neighborhood road, right? County road, right? Highway, and then interstate. Make sense? Let's ooch our way there. Awesome. Good. Okay. We have our 4 resources in place. Okay, good. If you need to, because you struggle visualizing, make your little balls of paper. You need to do that, do it. Have your grounding objects near you. Have what you need for grounding. Use it anytime you need to. Good. Is there a memory that you thought you would want to work on today? Is it an individual memory that happened at a particular place and time? And do all parts of you think working on that memory is a good idea today? If so, push it out of your awareness, blank it out, look at a blank wall, blank ceiling, and then when it's gone, load up your calm scene. So be in your calm scene. I'll give you about 30 seconds to really find your calm scene. Be in your calm scene, and then I'll start with the numbers. Okay. Good. Are y'all there? Thumbs up. You there? Excellent. Calm scene. 5. Find the number 5 on your sheet and immediately go right back to your calm scene. Find the 5 only long enough to see it and then right back into your calm scene. Good. 9. Calm scene. 2. 8. 0. Okay, good. How'd that go? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Okay, good. All right. Let's do another round in your calm scene. Okay, load up your calm scene. Let me know when you're there. 3. 5. 2. 8. And 3. Okay, good. How'd that go? How are y'all doing? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. If you're struggling, do you know why? And if you don't know why, message me. Okay, excellent. Good. All right, those of you that are on track, are you ready to look at the memory this quickly? Like between the claps, that quickly. It's better not to know what you're getting than to get too much. Okay? All right, lightning fast. Think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this millisecond. Use your hands, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. And just be in your calm scene. Yep. Use your resources if you need to. 3. 6. 9, four, and 1. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. All right, lightning fast. Think about the bad memory. Whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. If you're having difficulties, message me. 6, 2, 8, 9, and 1. Okay, good. How'd that go? Yeah, good. Yes, if your mind wanders a little bit, that's okay, as long as it's not wandering into the memory. Does that make sense? Especially if you got a little bit of a neurodivergent mind, your neurodivergent mind will do in Flash what it does normally. Your neurodivergent mind is welcome. Okay, awesome. Good, lightning fast. Think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. Good, just be in your calm scene. Have fun. Your calm scene's healing you. Get up and dance if you need to, right? Have fun. Be with it. Awesome. Good. 2, 6, 8, 1, and 4. Okay, good. How'd that go? How are y'all doing? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Good. Now is a really good time. Check your body really quick. Make sure that none of that memory's hanging out in your body. If it is, vacuum it out real quick. Send the canister away. Good. When in doubt, just vacuum it, send it away. If you found distress, skip the next round of activation and go straight into your calm scene. If you didn't find distress, think about the bad memory, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, everybody, calm scene. So be in your calm scene. Hang out there. Awesome. 9, 2, 6, 6, 7, 3, 2, and 1. All right, good. How did that go? Excellent. Lightning, if you're struggling, do you know why? If you don't know why, message me. If you have a plan to fix it, do the plan. Okay? But if you're on track, lightning fast, think about the bad memory, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. If you keep finding activation, you're looking at the memory way too long. Try to look at it faster. Awesome. Yeah. 2. One, 3, 8, and 6. All right, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. If you just got rid of the stress, skip the next round of activation. It's okay to do a few rounds in the positive scene and process that. Okay, do a few rounds in the positive scene without activation if you just had a big wave of activation. Otherwise, everybody else, lightning fast, think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing, catch it, contain it, send it far away. When it's gone, calm scene. Everybody just be in your calm scene and have fun. Notice it, be with it. That's where you want to taste that calm scene. Good. Five, 6, 9, 6, 8, 4, 6, 9, 1, and 4. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. Lightning fast. Think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this millisecond, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. 2, 6, 8, and 4. All right, good. How'd that go? How are y'all doing? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. If at this point you're struggling still, you really need to consider stopping. Does it make sense? If you're having lots of difficulty, stop, ground, do not go forward. Just hang out in your calm scene without the numbers. Just be in your calm scene, and we'll be at closure in no time. Does it make sense? Awesome. If you're on track, let's keep going. Lightning fast, think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. Six, eight, one, four, and nine. Okay, good. How'd that go? How are y'all doing? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Doing all right? Okay, good. If you can't find what's distressing in the memory, start playing it like a video, beginning to end, and start digesting each piece of distress. Okay, you're not done until you can play the whole video of the bad memory and there's no distress on any channel. Okay, good. Lightning fast. Think about the bad memory. Play your video if you need to. Whatever's distressing, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. Just be in your calm scene. And if you have played the video, you're done. Just hang out in your calm scene. We'll be done soon. Okay. 7, 3, 8, 6, 4. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. Good. Very quickly, think about the bad memory. Whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. Three, 9, 1, 8, 6, and 0. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. Lightning fast. Again, if you're having difficulty, stop. Stop. If you're on track, keep going. Okay? You can skip every other round of activation for a while, right? Don't let the distress get ahead of the progress. If you're on track, lightning fast. Think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. 3, 6, 1, 4, and 0. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. How are y'all doing? Are you still working on the memory? I think some of you are still working on the memory, and that's okay. A little bit. We're going to do it's about another 4 minutes of this. Okay? Maybe another 5 rounds. Good. Very quickly. Think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. So be in your calm scene. 2, 0, 4, 1, and 7. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. Lightning fast. Think about the bad memory. Whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. 6, 8, 4, 2, 1. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. Very quickly, think about the bad memory, whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. 9, 2, 8, 6, 1. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, good. Last round. Very quickly, think about the bad memory. Whatever's distressing in this moment, catch it, contain it, send it far, far away. When it's gone, calm scene. 3, 7, 8, 2, 4. Okay, good. How'd that go? Okay, awesome. How are y'all doing? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Doing okay generally? Okay, good. What questions do you have about that process? Did anybody resolve something? Fully resolve something? And if you fully resolve something, is there a belief about yourself that you believe more strongly related to that memory only? Is there a belief? Can you find it? Can you put your finger on it? And if there is a belief that you believe more strongly about yourself, how much do you believe it related to that memory only? Okay, and you probably, if that memory fully resolved, you probably believe it pretty strongly. Yeah, I can handle it. Yeah, and how much do you believe that related to that memory only? Yeah, yeah, okay. If you're 3 out of 7, there's more work to do here. Does it make sense? If you're 3 out of 7, then that memory didn't fully resolve because or that's not the right cognition. Yeah, something. There's something, if that memory did resolve, there's something you do believe 10 out of 10 true related to that memory. Yeah. Questions? What questions do you have? OCD is its own thing. Does that make sense? OCD is its own thing. When I work with OCD, I work in a lot of different ways. I do the behavioral stuff, I do the targeting of the things that were going on that may have contributed to the OCD processes. But OCD is its own thing. I get some consultation around OCD. Yeah. Um, yeah. What was the future scene? We didn't do it. The future scene would be having resolved this. Can you think about a future scene connected with that memory? You have an argument with a teen, right? Guess what? They're still in your house. You're still responsible for them. They're still going to be a knucklehead a few weeks from now. You know what I mean? Your mother-in-law, man, as much as it'd be nice to believe that they're going somewhere, they're probably going to be there next week and they may be doing stuff that's trigger. You know what I mean? So we're just leveraging the work you did toward a future thing that's not catastrophic. And then we identify the future thing, fill it out a little bit. The script walks you through how to do it. The training manual walks you through how to do it. But think about the future scene lightning fast. Whatever's distressing, catch it, contain it. When it's gone, calm scene. We do this until it's hard to find what's distressing in the future scene. Then you play the video of the future scene, digesting each piece of distress until you can play the whole future scene with no distress on any channel. And then when it happens, you're going to be like, Tom, my mother-in-law was in my kitchen doing her crazy dance and I didn't join her. I noticed she was in her own body doing her crazy dance and I didn't feel the need to join her, right? Or I was able to drive by the place of the accident for the first time ever. Yeah. And didn't realize it until I got home. Yeah. Yeah. Again, some of you are struggling because you don't know how much you need to connect with the memory because you're used to feeling that connection. There may not be much to feel. Does it make sense? So do you see why this is like really hard to do? Because we're used to flooding. We're used to just like, getting so much of it. So, yeah. How can we go back and scan for distress, but also glare? So, what we're doing is when we barely glance at the memory, that's how we start. Does it make sense? And as you start to as you start to digest the memory, it takes longer and longer to find the next piece of distress. And then when you find the next piece of distress, as soon as you find it, it goes away. Does it make sense? So we're always handling whatever is distressing like a hot potato, but it's going to take you longer and longer to find it. The more you interact with the memory, that's okay. The client does not need to pause the video each round unless the talking in the video is distracting them from me guiding them in the next round of activation. Fear of flying is remarkably easy to process in Flash. It's a really, really good target. And again, of course, people are fearful, right? You're in an 1/8 inch aluminum tube at 30,000 feet going 620 miles an hour. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So we do this. The client lets us know how long we need to do this. The problem in a group is that we have to do it however long we have. Does that make sense? So, yeah. Yeah. Good. If you're noticing parts, won't you try to get ahead of the process? Do you have parts of you that try to get you ahead of processes outside of Flash? And what do you do when that's happening? Right, because you function as a therapist, does that make you function as a human? So this doesn't have to be perfect. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be perfect. But if you notice you're getting ahead of the process, as with any kind of mindful task, recalibrate, remind yourself what you're supposed to be doing, and try to do it. Yeah. Good. Yes. Yes, it is ironic that that's the danger in doing this on smartphones. I've done flash of people on smartphones who, while they're on the smartphone, the ex will text the next of all the times you haven't heard from them in 4 months, and then we're working on the ex, and then boom, the ex will text in the middle of a flash session of working on the ex. Thanks, universe. It happens. Ground, right? Ground, turn notifications off, do whatever you need to do. Yeah. Yeah, this is not intuitive. Yeah. When I use shot back on my jaw, my heart hurt, so I just grounded. Again, I don't know whether that's grief. We grieve by grieving. I don't know whether there's a part that didn't want us to do this work at all. Does it make sense? So, yeah. I'm not saying don't do this with OCD. I'm just saying OCD is its own thing, kind of like addictions. You're not going to cure somebody's OCD in 2 flash sessions. You're not going to cure somebody's addiction. You need to conceptualize the whole case through an OCD lens and use flash when you can. Ideally, you get the parts of the memory that would be distressing if you were to let yourself feel it. Does that make sense? You're just trying to find the parts of the memory and send it. So here's the relationship between distress and flash. Have you ever touched a hot skillet with a wet finger to see if it was hot enough to cook? Right? Have you ever done that? Lightning fast. When you do it, you feel a little bit of the heat, don't you? As you get that, you feel a little bit of the heat, but it does not burn your finger. Does that make sense? That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to engage with it the way you handle a hot potato, meaning the moment it hits your hand, it's moving away from you, etc. If adaptive information is coming into the calm scene, that's fine. If you're in the calm scene and you just hear a voice that's like, girl, you got this. That's good. That's okay. We're not containing that. If you hear a voice that says, man, you suck, that's what we need to contain and send away. Yeah, good. This is flash causes a general disconfirmation of the memory. Your experience is different enough for your brain to realize that that piece of the memory is not happening right here, right now. Puppies disconfirm childhood sexual abuse. Does that make sense? Kittens disconfirm loneliness. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, the groups, EMDR Cleveland, scroll to the bottom. I do free consultation groups twice a month, and I do weekly flash processing groups that y'all are all welcome to join. They're both free. emdrcleveland.com. Scroll to the very bottom. The links are there. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
so
I will
much.
see you all next time. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank